Today we bring you the story of a desperate mother, a stolen child, and a heart-pounding chase that will leave you breathless. After a painful divorce from her ex-husband Tom, Kaylee packed up her life and moved to the city with her young son Frank. Struggling to make ends meet, she took a job as a waitress at a fast food restaurant, enduring constant criticism from her boss and rude customers while forcing herself to smile. Like many single mothers, she carried every burden silently. One evening just before midnight, Kaylee decided to take Frank to the playground so they could relax and unwind. It seemed like a perfectly normal outing. Frank burst through the playground gate like a bird finally set free, filled with laughter and excitement. From a distance, Kaylee watched him play, quietly allowing herself to hope for a better future, until her phone suddenly rang, shattering the peaceful moment. It was her ex-husband's lawyer. Tom had officially filed for custody of Frank, and because Kaylee didn't have a stable income, the lawyer made it clear that the judge would likely side with whoever could provide a better life for the child. Kaylee tried to argue back, but before she could finish speaking, her phone died mid-call. She slowly lowered the phone and turned back toward the playground. Frank was gone. Panic instantly rushed through her chest. A nearby bystander pointed toward the guardhouse, and Kaylee sprinted in that direction. She arrived just in time to see a man forcing Frank into a car. Desperately, she ran after the vehicle and grabbed onto it, but the driver sped off recklessly. Unable to hold on any longer, she lost her grip and crashed hard onto the ground. Without wasting a second, Kaylee jumped into her car and slammed her foot on the accelerator. The traffickers never expected her to fight back. They swerved aggressively through traffic, trying to shake her off, but Kaylee refused to give up on her son. Moments later, one of the traffickers began throwing heavy tools out of the window to stop her pursuit. At first, it slowed her down, but Kaylee quickly adapted and kept chasing them. Then they hurled a spare tire into the road. Kaylee managed to swerve just in time. The car behind her wasn't so lucky. It crashed violently, flipping over before coming to a stop in a thick cloud of smoke. Kaylee kept driving. Then suddenly, everything changed. Through the rear window of the trafficker's car, she saw a knife pressed against Frank's throat. One of the abductors screamed at her to back off. Helpless, with tears streaming down her face, Kaylee slowly switched lanes. But deep down, she refused to give up. Instead, she fell back just enough to follow them without drawing attention. Moments later, a police motorcycle officer appeared on the highway. Seeing a chance to save her son, Kaylee immediately began driving recklessly to attract the officer's attention. It worked. The police rider quickly noticed the chaos and moved toward the suspicious vehicle. But the traffickers reacted instantly. Their car suddenly slowed down for a split second, then accelerated directly toward the police motorcycle. The officer was crushed violently between two vehicles. Before Kaylee could even process what had happened, the traffickers seized the opportunity and rammed her car, forcing her off the road. Both vehicles were eventually forced to a stop. Kaylee watched from a distance as one of the abductors stepped out with a knife and started running toward her. Panicked, she quickly reversed her car. As the abductor grew exhausted, Kaylee suddenly sped forward and chased him down with her vehicle. She screamed at them to release her son and shouted out the PIN to her credit card before throwing her handbag toward the trafficker. He picked it up and returned to his car. Suddenly, the passenger side door opened. Kaylee's face filled with tears of joy, believing Frank was about to step out. But instead, the abductor's wife emerged and slowly walked toward her. Frightened, Kaylee hurried back into her car for safety. The large woman then demanded a $10,000 ransom, promising that Frank would be released once the money was paid. Desperate, Kaylee agreed, and they decided to drive together to the nearest bank. But Kaylee had underestimated just how dangerous these people truly were. As they passed through a tunnel, the large woman sitting in the back seat suddenly lunged forward and beat Kaylee unconscious, taking control of the car. When Kaylee regained consciousness, the car was still moving. Without hesitation, she grabbed the steering wheel and fought back fiercely, slamming on the brakes before accelerating hard, throwing the woman off balance. Using all her strength, Kaylee shoved her out of the vehicle. The woman crashed onto the road while Kaylee kept driving. Ahead of her, the trafficker waved at his husband to continue driving, believing his accomplice still had everything under control. Unaware that Kaylee was secretly following him from a careful distance, he headed toward his hideout. But Kaylee's fuel gauge was nearly empty. Time was running out. As Kaylee drove closer, the trafficker suddenly accelerated. In the chaos, he attempted to throw Frank out of the moving car. Kaylee screamed in horror and slammed on the brakes, watching helplessly as her son disappeared from sight. Tears streamed down her face as she sat frozen in fear and despair. Moments later, she forced herself to continue driving. Then she noticed thick smoke rising ahead on the road. She rushed toward it. The trafficker's car sat wrecked and twisted in the middle of the highway. But it was empty. Frank was gone. Kaylee drove straight to the police station. A policewoman took her statement and urged her to wait patiently. But as Kaylee stood inside the station, Her eyes wandered across the walls, covered from floor to ceiling with missing persons posters. So many faces, so many people who were never found. Fear tightened around her chest. Without another word, she turned and walked out of the station. Following a desperate hunch, Kaylee drove in the direction the trafficker had escaped. Near a lonely park bench beside a garbage can, she spotted something familiar, the trafficker's jacket. He was still nearby. Then a black sedan slowly crept past her car. Kaylee turned toward the driver's seat. Her heart nearly stopped. It was him. This time, Kaylee didn't hesitate. She slammed her car straight into his vehicle. The violent impact crushed the front of the trafficker's car, but somehow he managed to regain control and swerve away. At the same moment, the abductor struck a passerby, throwing the entire street into chaos as people screamed and scattered in panic. Kaylee tried to keep up, but another speeding car crashed into her from the side. Even then, she refused to stop. Ignoring the pain and damage, she forced her car forward and continued chasing the trafficker. Suddenly, the abductor tried threatening her again by attempting to throw Frank out of the moving vehicle. But this time, Kaylee refused to back down. She rammed his car repeatedly, each hit pushing the vehicle closer to losing control. The trafficker struggled to steady the wheel as the chase spiraled into complete madness. Then, at the worst possible moment, Kaylee's fuel tank ran empty. Her car rolled to a stop in the middle of the chase. Breathing heavily, Kaylee jumped out without hesitation and continued pursuing the abductor on foot. Just when it seemed all hope was lost, Kaylee spotted a truck in the distance. Desperate, she ran into the road and flagged down a passing pickup truck. Breathless and terrified, she quickly explained everything to the older man behind the wheel. The man listened carefully before warning her that there was a dead end further ahead. But by then, it was already too late. The trafficker had turned around. With terrifying speed, his vehicle came charging straight toward them. Seconds later, he slammed violently into the truck with a bone-shaking impact. The world around Kaylee exploded into chaos. Then everything went black. Suddenly, a gun slowly came into view, aimed directly at her. She ducked just in time. The shot skimmed the top of her head as she scrambled into the back of the truck for cover. The trafficker leaned through the broken window, trying to reach her with the weapon. He smashed the glass further to get closer. In one swift motion, Kaylee grabbed the barrel and yanked hard, pulling him halfway through the frame. She then started the truck and drove it down a steep hillside. The vehicle slammed into a tree, killing the man instantly. Searching his body, Kaylee found a piece of paper. No clear address, only a location she could investigate. She used the truck's navigation system and discovered the house was less than 2 kilometers away. Without hesitation, she continued on foot. When she reached the house, the lights were still on. She entered quietly, searching for Frank. Suddenly, a phone rang. In the shadows, she spotted the trafficker's wife pacing outside while speaking on the phone, negotiating the sale of children. Kaylee waited until the woman moved inside the wooden structure. Then she crept forward, grabbed the phone the woman had left behind, and called the police. The trafficker's wife quickly noticed something was wrong and drove off from the property. Kaylee entered the wooden house again and continued searching, until she found Frank, along with 2 other young girls hidden in the ceiling. Tears filled Kaylee's eyes as she rushed to free her son. At that moment, the trafficker's wife returned. Kaylee hurried to unlock Frank while the woman prepared for confrontation. Despite the danger, she managed to free her son. She promised the 2 other girls she would come back for them. Then she ran with Frank. The trafficker's wife sent a guard dog after them. They reached a small wooden pier by the water. A boat was docked there, but there was no time to escape by rowing. Kaylee and Frank were forced to jump into the water and swim across. Above them, the huge woman appeared with a gun, firing toward the drifting boat. When she paused to reload, Kaylee acted quickly. She told Frank to hide on the far side of the bridge while she slipped beneath the water's surface. The dog found Frank first, barking loudly. As the woman leaned in, Kaylee burst out of the water, grabbed her, and threw her into the river, where she drowned. Kaylee pulled Frank back and rushed toward the warehouse, determined to rescue the 2 remaining girls. Inside, a man appeared claiming to be a neighbor. He tried to hold Kaylee hostage, but she told him she had already contacted the police. He pretended to cooperate, offering help, but Kaylee noticed something unsettling. She had never told him how many children were inside, yet he already knew their exact number and details. Realizing the danger, she reacted instantly and struck him with a shovel before he could move. Moments later, police stormed the property. Kaylee stood outside with Frank and the 2 rescued girls. Her courage was recognized and she was honored as a heroic mother. What did you think of Kaylee's story? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Please like, share, and subscribe for more interesting videos.